Here we are. So let's pop you in the tripod. Actually, let me double check. Sounds on. Good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Okay. Okay. That was a bit funny. Right, we're good. Let's let me get. So I have the Rose Oracle today. We've got the Malkin's Tarot and the Mythic Oracle. Okay. Let me double check that we have sound. 1 2 1 2 testing. Today. Yeah, we have sound. Good. Okay. So today's live stream. Oh, let me mute that. Today's live stream is about Venus meeting Mercury. So there's quite a lot going on, and I literally say this every time, but I guess the planets and the stars are always moving and influencing us. So hence why I always say there's a lot going on. So we recently had we recently had Neptune going into Aries, so that may be a future video. So, but very, very important, like right now, today, Venus is meeting up with Mercury. So two of the closest planets to Earth, they've came together and they will have a specific influence over us. So Venus is all to do with relationships, love, and Mercury is all to do with communication, writing, thinking. So how their energies meld together and mingle. This is what this reading or what this video is about. So we're going to discuss that. Okay. So let's get into it. Right, so let's go in with the Mythic Oracle first. Mythic Oracle. Also, I have wrote a few pointers, or a few notes, should I say? There's a few notes, and I have some cue cards of information that I've channeled before the reading. So here they are. There's something that I've been using recently in the videos. Oh, we have some other cards here. Are they just blank? All right, they're blank cards. All right, so they're no good for this. So pop them down there. All right, so we have the Mythic Oracle. Let's give these a good shuffle. As the Spirit comes through with guidance for us, what do we need to know about this energetic portal that we're in? What guidance have you got for us, Spirit? Thank you, thank you, thank you. What is the guidance? Okay. Okay, we have Rhea. Interesting. It's very interesting. So, protection. Wow. Okay, so there is an emphasis right now for us all around protection. And interesting, number 2 is the card as well. So twos is all about duality and connection as well, which is interesting. So let's see what else I've written down about number 2. So twos may suggest a period of waiting and anticipation. They also refer to balance and partnerships and dualities. Okay, so that's number 2. But let's talk a little bit about this goddess Rhea. So Rhea, she is a Titaness goddess. She is the mother of Zeus and the wife of or consort of Cronus. So Cronus is quite a nasty piece of work because he literally wanted to like destroy his own children or eat them all just so that he would never be challenged for his throne. Rhea, she's very protective and nurturing, a true mother. So she did her best to protect her children. Obviously, with Zeus acting the way he did, she wasn't able to protect them all. But as soon as Rhea caught on to the way that Zeus was acting, she was able to devise a plan so she could keep Zeus safe. So I believe Zeus, he was the child that she managed to save. And funnily enough, there was a prophecy that Zeus, or that one of Cronus's children would overthrow Cronus, and it just so happens that Zeus was that child. So Zeus eventually did overthrow Cronus, but the important thing here is that motherly instinct of protecting the child, that nurturing aspect, and that empathy and the deep love and feeling of wanting to care for another person, that empathy, that nurturing, and the protection. So that is the message that's there. Ahmad says, hi, you're my favorite streamer. Hi, Ahmad. And Click says, hi, my dog died 3 years ago and was only 5 when he died due to cancer, and I had to watch him be put down. I was in tears for hours. I'm sorry to hear that. That is quite awful. I recently, last year in October, I recently lost my beloved cat. So I can relate to your loss. So I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. So this portal that we're in, it's all to do with communicating, especially communicating to the people who we care for. Okay. So a lot of the time we can get stuck in our own heads. I know that I do. And sometimes it may be hard to communicate, especially if you're neurodivergent or autistic, which I most likely am. I'm just undergoing a referral with the doctors, but we'll see about that in the future. But the important thing is communication is a biggie right now. Okay. Let's see what other energies around that. So we've got that motherly sort of protective, nurturing energy around us. And we have, oh, interesting, we have this energy as well. So the Promethean energy. So Prometheus, the call, again, this is going back to Greek mythology or the Greek pantheon. So I believe Prometheus, he was another Titan. I believe they called him the father of mankind. And the reason why is because Prometheus, he took pity on humankind or mankind when I believe when mankind was created, Zeus proclaimed that mankind was not to be allowed to have fire because they'd probably most likely be too destructive and couldn't be trusted with fire, even though fire is one of the life-giving elements and is very important for all life. So Prometheus, he went against what Zeus said and he gave mankind fire, and ever since he's paid the price for it. So Zeus punishes him on a daily basis, sorry. But the important thing here is sacrifice. It's interesting how that keeps cropping up. I'm sure a card regarding that with that similar message cropped up the last time I did a reading. So the message here is kind of, it's about that selflessness. It's like, if you know that you can go out of your way for someone, go out of your way for someone, even at your own expense. But when I say this, I don't want you all to completely do something massive and at your own expense. I believe, like, if you're going to be doing something at your own expense, maybe just do something a little small. But the message is just about little sacrifices that we can make to make somebody else's life more comfortable. Okay. And Click says, I'm sorry to hear that. Hope you are better and okay now. Thank you. I'd say I am better. It has been a hard loss, but I know that she's in a better place. My baby, my fur baby. And Stubborn Lopez says, hello, how's your day? How's my day? Oh, that's very kind of you to ask. So, but it's a funny answer. I'd say my day is kind of crazy, but not too bad at the same time. But thank you for asking. But I always enjoy doing a live stream, especially when I get a chance to read cards. And I am loving these cards that we've pulled so far. So we had Rhea and we had Prometheus, so 2 Titans. So this is from the Mythic Oracle deck. So Prometheus, so there's an emphasis here on the fire, I believe. So what does fire? So like I said, fire is like one of the life-giving elements. It's very integral to life, but fire can be also seen as in a non-literal way as to mean passion or any other number of non-literal representations. Okay, so I want to pull another card. Let's go with the Cat Tarot, seeing as we are on the seeing as we have been talking about beloved fur babies. Let's have some Cat Tarot or Grimalkin Curious Cat Tarot. Let's have some of that. And Stubborn Lopez says, sorry if it was too personal, not intentional. Blessings. Oh, no problem. It is really nice of you to ask, so I really do appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. So let's pull another card. I think the question kind of caught me off guard. So let's see. What else do we need to be aware of around this energetic portal, this cosmic portal? What else have we got for us, Spirit? Okay, so we have 10 of Pentacles. Oh, wow, look at that. I love that. Wow, find that that's crazy because I feel like we have, it's kind of getting me a little emotional here because we was literally just talking about my fur baby, and my fur baby was a black cat. So this cat tarot that we have here, there is a number of various different cats, but I just feel like it's very synchronicity, that there is strong synchronicity right now, that we was just talking about my fur baby and my familiar she was called Tallulah, bless her, but she looked just like that. She was so beautiful. But the 10 of Pentacles in a reading, 10 of Pentacles is to do with wealth and abundance. So it's when wealth is like overflowing, when you've got when you've got all of, it's like I'm hearing like you're not needing, you're not wanting for anything because you have that security there. Okay. So that is a positive sign. Oh, but I love that beautiful black cat. And there's even black birds above in the sky. And so for me, I think that the birds are kind of tying in with the rare card because it's like the birds are circling above. So they're keeping watch because it's like you've got this little fortune, you've got your little hoard of treasure, and it's like the birds, they're circling above to like keep guard. They're just like circling around, and they're feeding back to you who's about and if there's any danger. So that is a positive message. So let me also see what the number 10 means. So number 10, it says number 10 in readings represents new beginnings and change. And also number 10 can represent completion of a cycle, or the end, completion of events, end of a cycle, or renewal. So that is another added meaning there. Okay. So, but I really love that card. Beautiful, beautiful black cat. Thank you for saying hello. Okay. Okay, so clicks ask, should I ask my crush out? Or if they have a boyfriend, should I ask a random girl out? That's an interesting question. Okay. Should I ask my crush out? Let's pull a card. So I can't promise that I'll be able to answer your question, but I'll certainly give it a go by pulling a card for you. Okay. But the important thing is, if you don't get the answer that you're after, or if it's not if it doesn't give you clarity in the situation, I would put the question out into the universe and literally just ask your ancestors, ask your spirit guides, your angels, because they're all around and listening, and they will give you a sign. You just need to be open to receiving it. Okay, so spirit, what have you got regarding this crush? Okay, what would you advise, spirit? Please let us know. Thank you. Okay, so we have this card, 9 of Pentacles. Okay, so there's a lot of pentacles this evening, and then there's another beautiful cat there. So 9 of Pentacles. So let me see for the numerology of this one. So number 9's again, it's showing towards fullness. So this card shows completion of events, and it shows things coming to fruition, attainment, so things being attained, fulfillment. So this is a very positive card. So I'll show you that card again. So definitely in the matters of material, things, it's a very positive sign. So interestingly enough, there are some pretty pink roses in the picture there. So the sign I would take from that is maybe try giving your crush some little pink roses. See how that goes. Okay? Or if not, ask the universe for a clearer sign, more clarity, and pay attention to your dreams, or just pay attention to literally everything, like when you turn on the radio or turn on the TV, or when you're scrolling, doom scrolling. If something pops out at you, then it's likely a message from the higher powers. Okay. And that's interesting. I feel like this brings us to one of my channeled messages here. So one of the messages that I wrote before this reading is the conquest is right here. So this is for, I was channeling this because I was thinking about all of the lovers, or the people who are in love or aspire to be in love. It sometimes it may feel like there's like a massive conquest that we have to like travel over to like distant lands, or we may become distracted sometimes. That is what I'm kind of trying to get at. So don't get too distracted on what we think we can attain, like somewhere else. Kind of stay a little closer to home and think about the conquests that we have right here. So sometimes when we're in a relationship, we may be thinking the grass is greener elsewhere, or we may be preoccupied with something that's nothing to do with our relationship. So we may be preoccupied on work, or preoccupied on family or friends. So don't get too preoccupied on other things, and focus on your own conquest, and good things will come of that. So this is a message which comes through from Venus. This is one of the messages that Venus is trying to teach us right now, as Venus has more of a voice as it connects with Mercury. Okay. Where do you buy them cards, the ones you're using now? Thank you, by the way, for showing me the card and advice. You're a great streamer and never give up. Thank you. So those cards, I actually got these cards, the Grimalkin's Curious Cat Tarot. I got them from one of my nearest metaphysical stores. So it's called the Friendly Dragon. But you can probably find them on Amazon or eBay, or if you're lucky, you may find them in your local metaphysical store. So have a look. And sometimes bookstores do have these sorts of cards as well, because I do check out Waterstones quite a lot, and they do have a good selection of cards. Okay, so let me pull another card. So we've got a lot of pentacles so far from the tarot, which is quite interesting. So I wonder why the earth signs, or the earthy energy, is so strong. So I wonder if there's any of the earth signs that are being more impacted by this planetary alignment. So the earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Taurus, Virgo, and what's the Capricorn? How could I forget Capricorn? So yeah, Capricorn. I actually have quite a bit of Capricorn in my own birth chart. Okay, so what other guidance have you got for us? What else do we need to be aware of? Please let us know. Thank you. Okay. So I didn't even look at that card. Oh, interesting. Temperance. That is really interesting because I feel like I did draw this card from a different deck in literally the previous reading that I did. So temperance again. So I feel like some of these energies that are around this portal coincide with some of the energies and vibes that we was picking up in the last few portals. So temperance. So temperance is all to do with balance, and that's interesting when we're talking about relationships. So relationships are all about finding a balance because sometimes there's the whole, if you look at the symbol of the yin and yang, where there's like the big circle and there's a blob of darkness and then there's a blob of light and there's darkness in the light and a blob of light in the darkness. So it's all about the universe. Everything in the universe is all about falling into that perfect order and finding a balance. And this is what the temperance card is about, things coming into balance. But I'm going to read what the book says about this card. See what specifically this book says about the temperance card. Because I have recently read my own interpretation in the previous reading. So let's see what this book has to say about temperance. So it says the cat on this picture is called Coco. So that card is dedicated to a cat named Coco. So it says, when you lean into the energy of temperance during a time of difficulty, you will discover that the ability to appreciate the feelings and power each position holds is within you. It is in the middle ground that your stress levels will decrease and your vibration will rise. It is time to walk between the waves in order to ease friction by allowing space for opposing ideas to have their time. When temperance appears, you are asked to not look at the differences that keep you apart, but rather the areas of agreement that can bring you together through compromise. Wow, that is an interesting message because I'm literally have wrote some stuff to talk about some of these things. So it's interesting that this is coming up. So bring you together through compromise, you will find balance. Could your current situation use a mediator? Are you willing to compromise a little so all parties get something they desire? That is what this card is teaching us. So I think that is pretty good advice when it comes to any form of relationship. Okay, thank you, Temperance, for that. So on that note, I'm going to read some of what I've written down here. So this planetary alignment between Venus and Mercury, it's teaching us the importance of communication, how we communicate with our loved ones. Okay. So one of the things that I've written down, one of the notes. So I've been reading for quite some time. I've been reading this book, The Road Less Traveled, by M. Scott Peck. So it's quite an old book. So it's all to do with. So it says a new psychology of love and traditional values and spiritual growth. So it's quite an old book, so it's quite wordy. And I believe there is newer versions of that same book now. But that book was, it was recommended to me by my mentor when I was first learning about the spirituality and all of the rest of it. So that book was inspired or was recommended that I read that because it would help me on my spiritual journey. So it took me a long time because I remember when I first opened it and saw some of the words, because I'm used to reading fiction books. So when I read that book, it was like reading book of laws. Like I can imagine like like the sort of books that lawyers have to read where everything's about rules and regulations. It just seemed quite boring. But at the time, like a lot of the advice was to do with like love and relationships. And when you're single, it wasn't really relevant at the time. But a lot of that stuff is quite relevant now to me and to the rest of us. So this is a little bit of information that I got a snippet from that book. So it says, feelings are the source of power. Your feelings are your slaves. And the art of self-discipline is like the art of slave owning. So it's quite a strange metaphor. So it's saying that our feelings are kind of like a slave. But then it goes on to talk about how a lot of us may be worried that these slaves, which are our feelings, they may rise up and rebel against us. And it also goes on to say that the best owner, the best slave owner, respects and nurtures and responds to their feelings. So this is just a bit of important advice. So these are some of the messages which Venus and Mercury are teaching us. Okay. So clearly communicating our standards as well is another thing that Venus teaches us, especially when paired with Mercury. For example, if you expect fairness, you need to make compromises. So literally, this is what I wrote before we pulled that card, the Temperance card, which is telling us that we need to make compromises. So it says, compromise for them, they return a favor with a compromise for you. So yeah. So when you're in a relationship, there's an importance when it comes to compromise, because if they make a compromise for you, then you return the favor by making a compromise for them. So that is another important thing to be aware of, and something else that we can work with. Okay. And okay, Click says, I'll be right back. And Luke Perry says, hi. Hi, Luke. And hi, I'm back. Hi, Clicks. Great. So let me pull some more cards. All right, so we've not pulled any of these ones yet. So let's have a bit of the Rose Oracle. Okay, let's see what guidance we've got from that. So these cards come from Rebecca Campbell. I feel like doing that. I'll do. I don't often do that with these cards, or with any of my reading cards. I felt drawn to do it then. So hopefully it gave them a good shuffle. Okay. All right, Spirit, what what else do we need to be aware of around this portal, this situation? What guidance do we need for our love, our relationships? Please let us know. Ooh, and a card jumped out, so hopefully this is an important card. So this is the card that we have, which literally jumped out at us. So it says, healing is happening. It says, you're not broken. Trust the process. It's safe to soften. That's interesting because that ties in with another one of my messages that I've channeled before the reading. So love is a shield. So I know it sounds corny as hell, but this is just a reminder from spirit that we can lower our walls. We can lower our walls when we can show a bit of vulnerability to the ones that we love. So because and it's tying in with this, it's safe to soften. It's safe to let down our walls. So obviously, please be discerning of this. If you're in love with someone who's quite destructive or abusive or harmful in any way, then lowering your guard may not be the right thing to do in that situation. But if you're in a mutual, you're in love with someone who's mutually showing love to you and it's a safe and healthy relationship, then definitely do lower those guards, lower the wall, and it's more than safe for you to be vulnerable. And it's time for healing. So once these walls are down, we're able to heal. And it's kind of just, we heal through the connection and through the closeness, the proximity of the closeness to each other. So when you're around a positive person, when you're around a good person, a person who loves you, then in a way, this is going to bring a natural form of healing. They're naturally going to energize you, empower you. They're going to make you feel good about yourself. And this is what this card is talking about. So love is a shield. Okay. Right. Let's go with another of the tarot. What else would you like us to know? Can you make a short on YouTube with me in it? We actually get on well. It's an interesting idea. Yeah, we'll have a think about that. You'll have to let me know what your ideas are for this short. Oh, and I've just dropped a ton of cards. All right, so, and right at the top of them is the Sun card. So I feel like that card, oh God, there's quite a lot of major arcana cards in here. But right at the top, we have the Sun card. And underneath that, there is Death card, which is about change. But I feel like the most important card here is the Sun card. So the Sun card in a reading is like literally the most positive card, or one of them. So it represents the success, victory, happiness, joy. So feelings of elation. So this is definitely a good thing. It's definitely what we want to feel like when we're in a relationship. And it's kind of shows that like succeeding together, it's kind of shows that supportiveness and a, what would you call it, a positive connection, or right, let me shuffle some more. So we'll pop the Sun card down. We're happy with that one. Okay, so let's go back with the Rebecca Campbell cards. Because I feel like the tarot cards, we've had quite a lot of the major arcana cards. So when those cards jump out at us, or when we read those cards, they have a big message to tell us. So we've had, let me see which ones we had. So is that the only one? Oh no, we've had Temperance and the Sun. Temperance and the Sun, two major arcana cards. So those are carrying the most weight at the moment. Okay, so let's see. What else would you like us to know? Spirit, our ancestors, and any of our loved ones who have guidance for us, please let us know. Okay. The bloom. Okay. So what we have here, it says the bloom. Creations realized, right time, harvest, celebrate. Interesting. So the right time, creations realized. So there's an emphasis here on creating something. So there's also an emphasis on being creative. And also it's pointing out timing is important as well. And it's talking about celebration, celebrating. So I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand with the Sun card that we just had as well. So celebration, victory, successes. Oh, jumping out of my hand. So that is another positive card. Well, let's go back in with the Mythic and Oracle cards. Let's see what other archetypes want to jump out at us with some guidance. Okay, actually. Also, a couple of the other messages. So that was another message. I feel like that tied in with what I was just saying before. So basically, it's just a reminder that we can relax around our loved ones, relax around them and lower our wall. Okay? Relax around your loved ones and lower your walls. And that is the best way we're going to be able to communicate. Because when you have a close connection, when you're in close proximity, when you're close enough to whisper to each other, then what you're saying becomes much more beautiful and much more touching. Okay. So maybe try that. I feel like that's a message from Spirit, to just whisper something kind or nurturing or loving to a loved one. And if you're one of the people who doesn't have anyone, then whisper a nice kind thought or compliment to yourself. Be kind to yourself as well. That is another important thing. So especially with Valentine's coming up in a few weeks, it's always important to value ourselves and to take care of ourselves with our self-care routines. Okay. But as well as that, if you do have a special someone, if you do have a loved one, then it's also good to take care of them too. And take care of each other. Okay. So this is the card we have. What do we have? Interesting. So we were just talking about taking care of each other and working with loved ones. And the card we have here is Hera, and this is all about duty. And it's interesting, this is the first card I've ever, not the first card, this is the first time I've ever pulled this card. So it's interesting that it's a love reading, pretty much, that I'm doing now, and Hera has decided to pop up. So when Hera pops up, so the message here, it says, is duty. So I'm gonna, because this is literally the first time I've ever read this card, I've been reading these cards for years and Hera has never popped up before, so I'm gonna read the book and see what she's saying. All right, let's see. It's nice of you to show your face, Hera. So what number is that? Number 14. So 1 and 4 equals 5. So 5 in a reading. Let's have a look at the numerology. So 5s in a reading indicate times of change, ups and downs, instability and conflict sometimes. That's interesting that that's paired with Hera, because there was a lot of conflict between Hera and Zeus, because Hera wanted Zeus to be loyal and faithful, but however, it just so happened that Zeus was not that kind of guy and he was far from faithful. And this caused a lot of problems, and Hera was very angry about Zeus's affairs. So let's see what this message says. Okay. So me and my crush are best friends, says clicks. The shot could be a clip of when I asked my crush out. Interesting. And you clip it and make it a video. Do you think I should ask my crush called Arwen and sorry, I can't pronounce that name. My best friend. Interesting. I would say ask the universe, and I believe you will receive your answer to that. Right, so number 14, let's have a look. I'll see what guidance. So if any guidance comes through from myself that resonates with you, then feel free to take that. If not, do pay attention to your dreams. Asking you will receive a sign from spirit, from ancestors, from loved ones on the other side. So this card, Hera, so let me show you it and I'll tell you the message, because I think this is very interesting that this card has popped up after all of these years. So it says, Hera is here to remind you of the realm of duty, but the duty in question here is one toward yourself and your own personal honor code, as opposed to duty for the sake of personal or financial status. When we act out of obligation to others rather than obligation to the self, we begin to lose our life force. We then become disconnected from ourselves. We use our senses to discern what we should do in the eyes of the world, rather than doing what we know in our heart to be right. If we give our power, energy, and personal truths away, believing we are helping others, we are only really helping ourselves in the form of status or acceptance, and this can lead to anger and resentment. A personal honor code is essential to every healthy person, and the courage to stay true to that code is the key to a healthy life. This is a time for you to check in on your own personal honor code. Are you violating it in any way? Have you disregarded it in order to put the needs of others before your own? This is a time for being honest with yourself and having the courage to uphold the duty you have to yourself, to be an honourable person by standing strong in all that you believe. Wow, so I feel like that was a very big card with a very strong message. So I hope that message was delivered and received well. Thank you, Hera. And that's interesting, because one of the one of the other messages I have here is about rose-colored glasses. So the message behind this one is like sometimes there are people who we love. Sometimes kind of we're kind of a bit blind when it's regarding them. So sometimes that person may may not have our best interest at heart. So they may not be treating us in the right way. They may not be showing like loyalty, like the Zeus and Hera mythology. That sometimes we stick with that person without without a good reason, really, because we have our rose-colored glasses on, and we're just seeing that everything's hunky-dory and fine, and everything's perfect, or everything's fixable. But a lot of the time, it's more trouble than it's worth in some instances. So this message comes from Spirit just as a reminder to take off the rose-colored glasses. So if there are issues in a relationship, don't just ignore them or don't overlook them. We need to work on resolving issues within a relationship, or if a relationship is too toxic, then we need to be making the best decision, really, for everyone concerned, especially ourselves and our loved ones, okay? So just be aware of rose-coloured glasses. So let me pull another one of the Rose Oracle cards. Right, click, says I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, cool. So pull another card. What have we got here? So what else do we need to be aware of? Spirit, let us know what other guidance you've got for us at this time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we have After the Rain. Interesting, that's a beautiful card. So the message here, it says After the Rain. So the message is silver lining, relief, hope, mercy, it's over, and acceptance. Okay. So I feel like this is a message for someone who may be toying with the idea of kind of letting maybe a toxic situation go or ending a relationship. So there may be a silver lining, and there is the popular saying, however cliche it is, but it is a true fact of life, that when one door closes, another one opens. So don't feel like if you do need to make that decision, if you do need to communicate an end to a relationship, then don't feel um, like there won't be any silver linings, because the card is showing that good things will come of it, even though it may seem like the hardest thing to do and the path that you'd least like to take. But it does show that there is hope, there is mercy, and there will be acceptance if you're willing to take it. Okay. So that is another angle here. And another message which I channeled earlier is mutual loving confrontation. So this is very important for any form of relationship, whether it's platonic or romantic. Confrontation is something that we all have to face at some point. And we need to make sure that we're trying our best to make it a loving confrontation. That is the most important word here. So, loving confrontation. So, when we're confronting a loved one, we're doing it in a nice way. We're trying to find a resolution that suits us both. So, this is what a mutual loving confrontation is about. So, one way we could do that is by maybe we set a day. So we may set a time and day in the week that we and our loved one come together, and we at that time and day we share like mini micro resentments. So these are little things which have irritated us over the week, but we didn't really want to talk about it because we didn't want to cause an argument, or we didn't think it was a big deal, yada yada yada. So if we have these micro resentments and we just share them, let the cat out of the bag, just let them loose rather than just holding them in, bottling it in. So just let it loose, but set the boundary before you begin that we're telling each other these micro resentments, and this we're doing this because we love each other and we want the relationship to grow. And we're also going to set the boundary that there's no need for us to argue about it. So there's no need for the person, for the other person to defend themselves about the micro resentment. They only need to say, I hear what you're saying and I accept it and we can work on it. So this is a way that our relationships can grow. So if we're voicing our micro resentments, these little things which are nagging us or have been irritating us a little bit, so if we're voicing them, but we're doing it in a way that's safe and loving, and the other person doesn't have to defend themselves because it's only something small. So if this was like something massive, or then you'd probably not do that in the same way. You'd probably would just there and then in the situation, if something's cropped up, or if not, if you're not there and then you'd pick the right moment to share your concerns. And of course, then the other person could defend themselves because it may be that you're taking something out of context, or you're exaggerating, or whatever the matter is. But when it comes to just the micro resentments, this is something very little which has maybe annoyed you with just a small fraction, and if there's lots of little things that are happening like that throughout the week, then they may build up. So if you're able to make sure those things don't happen again, then you're laughing and the relationship can grow. So that is what mutual loving confrontation is all about. So that is yet another message. So I'm going to pull another of the tarot cards here. Okay. Ooh, and I just dropped two cards. Gosh, let's see what they are. So we have Knight of Cups and Two of Swords. Interesting. All right, let's read these, seeing as they literally just fell out. So Knight of Cups. So cups in a reading represent the water sign, so it's to do with emotions. So it represents a person, a man who is very emotional and in tune with their feelings and emotions. And that's good. That certainly is a good thing. So the Knight of Cups. So I'm going to read the book to see what it says about the Knight of Cups. Where is my little booklet? Knight of Cups. Oh, there it is. There's the book. Knight of Cups. Let's see what it says here. Okay, so it says Knight of Cups uses its openness and vulnerability to woo and charm, revealing its passionate heart for all the world to see. This fanciful creature gives so much of itself, and that is part of its charm. It is the knight's sensitivity that draws you in. Of course, with just a quick, cool breeze, the temperamental knight reveals another side, one that is moody, overbearing, and over emotional. Interesting. The energy of the Knight of Cups, when in control and balanced, will help you get your groove back. When you open your heart, show others without fear your emotions, something magical will spark, love and imagination will fuse. And before long, you will feel as though you are the lead character of some steamy romance novel. Ooh, this is sounding quite exciting. When this knight appears in a reading, it is time to let your imagination soar. Let your heart fill with passion and yearning for adventure. But know that, as wonderful as the feeling may be at the moment, too much of a good thing can cause the Knight of Cups to drown in its own emotions. Enjoy the energy of the night for what it is, but leave your expectations for consistency at the door. Oh, wow. So that's very interesting indeed. Okay, so, and the next card we had was the Two of Swords. So, Two of Swords in a reading would represent opposing forces. So, let me see. And twos in a reading, again, it's to do with duality, partnerships, balance, periods of waiting and anticipation as well. So let me read what it says here about the Two of Cups. Oh, Two of Swords, sorry. So here's what it says. When the Two of Swords appears, your situation may be experiencing a gridlock. Take a moment to examine a difficult situation that is causing you to procrastinate. Is there a truth that you are avoiding? However, the Two of Swords may also indicate you are not yet comfortable to commit to a decision until more information is available. When the Two of Swords comes up in a reading, you may want to consider if your situation has reached a point of stagnation, because addressing an obstacle would require accepting the fact there is a real chance you may actually have to face a worst case scenario. And as a result, avoidance seems like the best solution. The Two of Swords may also indicate inaction as a result of not understanding all the options. You may need to make a decision. However, without clear and concrete information, holding off out of fear of being too impulsive may slow down progress, but it may also help you avoid costly error. Interesting. All right, so let's pull. Which one should we go with? Let's go with another of the Rose Oracle cards. I don't use these cards very often, so let's give them a little bit more time to shine. Okay, Spirit, what else have you got for us? What else do we need to be aware of? How else can we tap into our feelings? Actually, I feel like I have a bit more guidance written down about that. Let me have a look in a moment. I'll pull a card first. Okay. What is the guidance? Okay, let's go with this. The Mystic Rose. So the message we have is compassion, devotion, humility, humanity, grace. The Mystic Rose. Interesting. All right, I'm going to read from the book to see what else this wants to, what the deeper message is here. Interestingly enough, these ones don't have numbers. Mystic Rose. So it says this is a card of compassion, devotion, and grace. It encourages us to soften toward humanity. So there's that word again. So we literally had that word cropping up a bit earlier about telling us to soften ourselves. So soften towards humanity and to endeavor to see the world, and even those who have hurt us, with understanding, an open heart, and deep humility, to see that we all carry hurt and are all wounded. We have all experienced severing and maybe even trauma. Mother Mary is inviting you to open your heart to humanity when you most want to close it. Okay, and the special soul inquiries, how are you being called to show compassion today? So that is a question that you can ask yourself. So grace as well. Grace is always such a powerful message, because what grace is when we show love and kindness and humility and compassion to somebody who's not necessarily deserving of it. So even though this other person may not have earned this level of kindness and respect and humility, so they may not have earned it. They may not treat you with the same kindness, but because you're so graceful, you give them this gift of this love. And this is what grace is. So even though the person has not earned it, we give it regardless. So this is what grace is. So this is like the closing message here. Venus in Mercury, be graceful and communicate our needs, communicate how much we love each other. Now is the perfect time. Okay, so I'm going to quickly. So I'm very happy with that reading. So actually, before I do dash off, let me double check, because I'm sure I had some more notes. So another thing that I wrote down is love is an investment. So if you think about, time is a currency as well. So our time is so precious and important. So the time that we're spending with other people, and how we fill that time as well. So whether we're using that time for communicating with each other, whether we're building a relationship, building our backstory, building our knowledge of each other. So this is all about communication, but all of this is a big investment in this relationship that we have with another person. Okay. Accountability is another important thing when it comes to relationship. So I know I was just talking about being graceful, but at the same time, we do have to hold people accountable for their actions as well at some point. So it's just finding that balance, because yes, it's always good to be graceful. So even if someone hasn't earned earned all of our love and respect, and we give it anyway, but at the same time, we do need to hold people accountable for their actions. So if somebody is being if somebody is showing us that they're not prioritizing us, that fully they're not fully devoting themselves to us, then we need to hold that person accountable for that, and we need to kind of value ourselves and not let ourselves be used in that way. So accountability is another thing that Venus teaches us. Venus align Venus with Mercury, sorry. So this cosmic alignment also tells us that thought and love come into alignment. So our thoughts and our love come into alignment. So we need to then share these thoughts with our loved ones and speak from the heart. That's another important message regarding this portal. And listening with compassion. So that's always a very big thing. So listening is such a good superpower, and especially when it comes to people that we love and care for, like just listening to their worries, listening to them vent. So yeah, it's not always great when you have to like sit through somebody venting, but at the same time we do it because we care about that person. And yeah, Mercury and Venus, they teach us about the mind and heart connection. So let's not just when it comes to acting on something, when it comes to making decisions, let's let the mind and heart be in balance. So we need to find that balance between the mind and heart, rather than just acting out of logic or acting solely from emotion. We need to find that perfect balance, that golden balance. Okay. And be super aware of how you communicate with all of your loved ones. And do check out some of the other videos, and I hope to see you again soon. Sending you all lots of love and brightest blessings. Mwah.